Jax's revenge domain. The coffee mug hit the conference table and rolled toward my feet. Then another one, then three more. I was standing near the presentation screen when Linda gestured too wide with her hands, knocking them all over. She paused mid-sentence, looked down at the mess, then looked at me. "Could you get those?" Not a question, a command. I'm Gerald Morrison, 47 years old, and I've been dealing with situations like this longer than I care to remember. I bent down and started gathering the mugs. The entire room watched. 43 people from Hamilton Industrial Equipment, the place I'd worked at for 11 years. We were 3 hours into the mountains at some retreat center, supposedly here to celebrate the upcoming launch of their new heavy machinery line. Linda was presenting her ideas for the market rollout. She was 26. Her father owned the whole operation. "Sorry, everyone, where was I?" she laughed, stepping over me while I crawled around collecting mugs. "Oh, right, the supplier logistics for the launch." Someone snickered. I kept my head down, reaching for a mug that had rolled under a chair. My knees pressed against the carpet. I could feel everyone watching. "You know what this reminds me of?" Linda's voice rang out. "My intern back at business school." Actually, a few people laughed, unsure where she was going. No, seriously. I had this intern who could organize supply chains better than this. Fresh out of undergrad, 22 years old, and he had everything mapped out in spreadsheets within 2 weeks. The room erupted. Not small laughs, big ones. The kind that make your shoulders shake. I looked up from the floor. She was smiling down at me, arms crossed, looking pleased with herself. My intern could literally organize this better than our current approach. More laughter, louder this time. I turned my head toward her father, Roger, who sat in the front row. He was grinning, his face red from laughing. He didn't say anything, didn't tell her to stop, just sat there enjoying it. I grabbed the last mug, stood up, and walked to the back, placed them on a side counter. Then I walked out. Nobody followed me. I could still hear them laughing as the heavy door closed behind me. I stood outside in the cold mountain air for a long time. The sky was that deep blue you only see away from the city. My hands were shaking. Let me go back. Let me tell you how I got here. 11 years ago, I was 36 and needed steady work. My son Dennis was 6, and I was raising him alone after the divorce. Hamilton Industrial Equipment was hiring someone to help manage their supplier relationships. They made heavy equipment, industrial machinery, the kind of stuff that keeps factories and construction sites running. The man who had the job before me was named Harold Peterson. He was 64 and retiring. On my first day, he took me aside. "Listen carefully," he said. "The owners here, they're cheap. They don't want to pay for proper systems or databases or consultants. They want everything fast and quiet. So here's what I did for 22 years, and here's what you'll do if you want to keep this job." He tapped his head. "Keep everything up here. Don't write it down. Don't put it in their systems. Keep the relationships personal. Keep them yours. That way, they need you. That way, you're not just another person they can replace." "But what if something happens to me?" I asked. He shrugged. "Then they'll figure it out. But while you're here, you'll have a job, a real one. I needed that job. So I listened." Harold spent 2 weeks with me. He introduced me to the factory owners he'd worked with. There was Timothy Walsh, who ran a steel fabrication shop 2 hours outside the city. He had 2 brothers, all working with him. There was the Rodriguez family, who operated a precision machining facility across the state border. Their grandfather had started it 40 years ago. There was Nancy Cooper, who managed a coating operation where 15 technicians applied industrial finishes using processes she'd developed herself. "Learn their names," Harold told me. "Learn their families' names. Learn when they need payment early, when they're struggling, when they're doing well. Treat them like people, not just vendors. They'll remember that." And I did. For 11 years, I built those relationships. When Timothy's youngest brother got married, I sent a gift. When the Rodriguez family needed their payment a week early because of new equipment, I made sure Roger approved it. When Nancy's shop had an electrical fire and lost half their inventory, I called her every day for a month, checking in, making sure she knew we'd wait for her to rebuild. I remembered everything. Which shop was fastest for rush orders? Which one produced the smoothest finishes? Which family needed gentle handling because they were traditional and didn't like pushy behavior? which one you could joke with, and which one expected formality. I never wrote any of it down. Not once. No spreadsheets, no contact databases, nothing. In the company's systems, just like Harold taught me. Roger never asked questions. As long as equipment arrived on time, he was happy. He never wanted to know the details. He'd just say, "Handle it, Gerald." And I did. Over the years, Hamilton grew. They hired more people, fancier people, people with degrees from expensive schools who used big words in meetings. I stayed in my small office, making calls, sending emails, keeping everything moving. Nobody really noticed me. I was just there, the guy who made sure parts arrived. Then Linda graduated from business school 2 years ago. Roger immediately brought her in, gave her a title, something about strategic development. She started showing up to meetings, offering opinions, changing things. She was loud, confident, the kind of person who walked into a room and expected everyone to pay attention. She never spoke to me directly. I don't think she even knew what I did. To her, I was just someone who worked there, someone in the background. 3 months ago, Roger called a big meeting. He announced the Titan series, a massive equipment launch, complete industrial solutions, machinery, hydraulics, control systems, everything coordinated. They'd been planning it for a year. He said they'd already taken advance orders worth $25 million. The launch was scheduled for 8 weeks out. It required 12 different suppliers. Some I'd worked with for years. Some were new relationships I'd spent months building. Timothy's shop was making 85 different steel components. The Rodriguez family was producing 15 precision parts. Nancy's operation was applying custom coatings in 6 different specifications. I had it all organized in my head, the timeline, the quantities, the backup plans for when something went wrong. Because something always went wrong. Nobody asked me about it. They just assumed it would happen because it always did. 2 weeks after that meeting, Roger called me in. "Gerald, we're restructuring your role," he said. He didn't look at me while he talked, just shuffled some papers around. "We've hired someone new to handle supplier relations, someone with experience in global operations. You'll be supporting them, transitioning to more administrative work." "Administrative work?" I repeated. General support, whatever's needed. You've done solid work, but we're scaling up now. We need someone with a more strategic approach. Something changed." "What about the Titan series? I've been coordinating all 12 suppliers. The new person will take over. You'll brief them." "Brief them on what exactly?" "There's nothing written down." He looked up then. "What do you mean, nothing written down?" "I mean, I've been managing all the relationships personally. The contact information, the processes, the history with each supplier. It's not in your systems." He stared at me. "Why not?" "Because that's how Harold did it. That's how I learned. You never asked for anything different. You just said handle it, so I handled it." He waved his hand, dismissing it. "Then you'll explain everything to the new person." Simple. It wasn't simple, but I nodded and left. The new person started the following week. His name was Carl Stevens. He had worked at 3 other companies, all bigger than Hamilton. He spoke in long sentences about optimization and efficiency. He asked me for the supplier database. "There isn't one," I told him. He laughed. "There has to be. There doesn't." He stopped laughing. I spent 2 weeks trying to explain how everything worked, but he didn't want to listen. He wanted lists and numbers and processes. He wanted me to just give him what he needed so he could take over. He didn't understand that you can't just call up Timothy and demand delivery dates. You have to ask about his family first. You have to remember that his middle brother just had a baby. You have to understand that the Rodriguez family won't negotiate prices over email. They need to hear your voice. Carl didn't care about any of that. After 2 weeks, he told Roger I wasn't being cooperative. Here's the thing. I was trying to help. I really was. But Carl had this attitude like everything I'd been doing for 11 years was somehow wrong because it wasn't in a computer system. He'd roll his eyes when I'd explain why certain suppliers needed to be handled certain ways. "That's not scalable," he'd say. "We need standardized processes. You know what I mean?" He thought he could just plug in some software and replace 11 years of relationship building. Like people were just numbers in a spreadsheet. The retreat happened 2 weeks later. Linda's presentation about the launch, the coffee mugs, the laughter. All of it. After that mountain drive home, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my son Dennis. He was 17 now, getting ready for his senior year. Smart kid, honor roll student, planning to go to college. I'd been working all these years to give him opportunities, to show him what it meant to work hard and be reliable. But what was I actually showing him? That you let people walk all over you? That you stay somewhere even when they don't respect you? That you smile and take it when someone compares you to their intern in front of everyone you work with? No, that's not the lesson I wanted him to learn. Sunday night, I made my decision. On Monday morning, I walked into Hamilton at 8 o'clock. I went straight to Roger's office and handed him a single piece of paper. This is my resignation, effective immediately. He looked confused. What? Why? Look, if this is about what Linda said, it's not about what she said. I'm done. That's all. But the Titan series launches in 6 weeks. Carl is still learning. That's not my concern anymore. I turned and walked out, packed up my small office. 11 years fit into 2 boxes. I carried them to my truck and drove away. When I got home, I went straight to bed. Slept for 14 hours straight. When I woke up, Dennis was sitting on my bed. Dad, why are you home? It's Tuesday. Tuesday. I'd slept through Monday night. I sat up, rubbed my eyes. I quit my job, son. He was quiet for a moment. The place you've been at forever? That one? Why? Because they didn't respect me and I stayed too long already. He nodded. Didn't ask more questions, just nodded. Smart kid. He got it. I spent that whole week at home. Cleaned everything, organized the garage I'd been ignoring for years, cooked actual meals instead of throwing together whatever was quick. I didn't check my phone much, but it kept ringing. My phone rang constantly that first week. I didn't answer. 15 calls from Roger, 12 from Carl, even a few from other people at Hamilton. I let them all go to voicemail. The messages started polite. Gerald, please call us back. We need to discuss your transition. Then they got more urgent. Gerald, we really need your help with the supplier contacts. Please respond. Then desperate. Gerald, the Titan series is in serious trouble. We'll pay you for consultation. Name your price. I deleted them all. You know what I did instead? I fixed the fence in my backyard that had been broken for 2 years. I organized every tool in my garage. I cooked dinner for Dennis every night, real dinners, not just sandwiches or takeout. We talked about his classes, his friends, his plans for college. You seem different, he said one evening while we were cleaning up dishes. Different how? I don't know. Less stressed, I guess. You used to always be thinking about work stuff. He was right. For the first time in 11 years, I wasn't thinking about delivery schedules or supplier problems or whether some part would arrive on time. It felt strange, good strange. On Friday afternoon, someone knocked on my door. I looked through the window. Carl. He looked terrible. His shirt was wrinkled, hair messy, dark circles under his eyes. I almost didn't open it, but something made me curious. What do you want? I asked through the door. Please, Gerald, just talk to me for 5 minutes. I opened it but didn't invite him in. Just stood there in the doorway. Everything's falling apart, he said. I can't find any of the suppliers. The files don't exist. Nobody has contact information. The few numbers I found, when I call them, they don't know who I am. They keep asking for you. That's unfortunate. Please just give me the contact list. That's all I need. I'll figure out the rest. There is no contact list. His face went red. Stop lying. You have to have something written down. Nobody works with 12 suppliers and keeps it all in their head. I did. That's insane. That's not how professionals work. I shrugged. Maybe not, but that's how I worked. And it worked fine for 11 years. Roger will pay you whatever you want. Just help us. The launch is in 5 weeks. I'm not interested in helping. Have a good day, Carl. I closed the door. He stood there for a few more minutes, then left. The following week, I started getting calls from the suppliers themselves. Timothy called first. Gerald, what's happening? Some guy called me yesterday asking about steel components. He was rude. Didn't even ask how I was doing. Just demanded to know about production schedules and pricing. I don't work there anymore. Silence. Then, you left Hamilton? I did. But who will I work with now? I don't know. They hired someone new, but honestly, Timothy, maybe it's time to find other clients. Hamilton doesn't treat people well. He sighed. They never treated me well. They treated you well, and you treated me well. That's why I stayed. We talked for 20 more minutes about his family, about his shop, about possibilities for his future. When we hung up, I felt lighter somehow. Nancy called the next day. Gerald, I got the strangest call. Someone from Hamilton demanding to know why we haven't started the coding work for the Titan project, but nobody ever sent us specifications or a purchase order. What did you tell them? I told them I only work with people I trust, and I only trust you. Same conversation, basically. Then the Rodriguez family's oldest son called, then two other suppliers I'd worked with for years, all of them asking the same questions. What happened? Who is this new person calling them? Where did I go? I told them all the same thing. I left. They should do what's best for their own businesses. Here's what Carl didn't understand. These weren't just vendor relationships. These were partnerships built over years. When Timothy's shop had cash flow problems 3 years ago, I personally drove over there with an advance payment from Hamilton. When Nancy's daughter graduated high school, I sent flowers. When the Rodriguez family's grandfather passed away, I went to the funeral. You don't build that kind of trust with spreadsheets and efficiency reports. By the third week, none of them were answering Hamilton's calls anymore. My phone rang at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday. Roger. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Gerald, his voice was strained. We need to talk. I don't think we do. Please come in just once. Let's discuss this like adults. There's nothing to discuss. I resigned. You accepted it. I'm asking you to reconsider. We'll double your salary. We'll give you whatever title you want. We'll make Carl report to you instead of the other way around. I don't want any of that. Then what do you want? I thought about it. About Linda's laugh. About being on my knees picking up coffee mugs. About Roger sitting there grinning while his daughter humiliated me in front of 43 people. I want to spend time with my son. I want to wake up without feeling sick about going to work. I want to be somewhere I'm actually valued, not just used. We value you. I see that now. We made a mistake. You made a lot of mistakes, Roger. For a long time, I'm done fixing them. The Titan series will fail without you. We'll lose everything. That sounds like your problem, not mine. He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, harder. You're destroying this company out of spite because of one comment from Linda. That's incredibly petty. Something hot flashed through me. One comment, Roger? You restructured my entire role. You brought in someone to replace me after 11 years of me keeping your whole operation running. You never once asked how I did what I did. You just assumed it would all keep working, even after you pushed me aside. And then your daughter compared me to her intern while I was on the floor picking up her mess, and you sat there laughing. I paused. So no, this isn't about one comment. This is about 11 years of not being seen. I hung up. My hands were shaking when I hung up, but it felt good. Really good. 3 days later, Nancy called me. Gerald, I got a strange call today from a lawyer representing Hamilton. They said I'm contractually obligated to fulfill orders for them, but I never signed any contract with Hamilton. I only worked with you on trust. That's because there are no contracts, I told her. Roger kept everything informal to save money. He can't force you to do anything. That's what I thought. I just wanted to check with you first. She laughed. Good, because that Carl person was so unpleasant. I have plenty of other work now anyway. Over the next few days, I heard similar stories from other suppliers. Hamilton was trying to pressure them legally, but there was nothing to enforce. No signed agreements, no documentation, just years of handshake deals and personal relationships that died the moment I walked out. 4 weeks after I quit, an article appeared in one of the trade publications. Hamilton Industrial Equipment cancels major product launch. The article talked about production issues and supplier problems. It mentioned disappointed customers demanding refunds for advance orders. It estimated the company's losses at $15 million. I read it twice, felt nothing. Satisfaction, no guilt, just nothing. But I wasn't sitting around doing nothing. 2 weeks after I quit, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but it wasn't a Hamilton exchange. Hello, is this Gerald Morrison? Yes, my name is Patricia Miller. I run a company called Industrial Partners. We connect manufacturers with reliable suppliers. I heard about you through Timothy Walsh. He spoke very highly of your work. I sat up straighter. Oh. He said you spent 11 years building relationships with suppliers across multiple regions, that you understood not just the business side but the human side, that suppliers trusted you completely. Is that accurate? I suppose it is. I'd like to meet with you. We're expanding and we need someone who can manage supplier relationships the right way. Not just contracts and numbers, but real relationships. Would you be interested in discussing it? We met the following week. Patricia's operation was smaller than Hamilton, but growing fast. She introduced me to her team, 6 people, all serious about their work. She explained what they did, how they helped manufacturers connect with suppliers who would treat them fairly. Too many companies exploit these small shops, she said. They demand fast work, low prices, no real contracts to protect the suppliers. We want to do it differently. Fair agreements, fair prices, long-term relationships built on respect. That sounds right to me. Timothy told me what happened at your last place. The way they treated you? That won't happen here. Everyone on my team is valued. We're building something together. She offered me a position. The salary was close to Hamilton, and the title was Director of Strategic Partnerships. I'd work with manufacturers and suppliers, building relationships. But this time, everything would be documented properly, protected, not just living in my head. I accepted. By the time I started at Industrial Partners, Hamilton was in full collapse mode. The Titan series launch was officially canceled. Suppliers refused to work with them. Advance orders were being refunded. The company was hemorrhaging money. Timothy called to check on me. They're trying to sell the whole company, he told me. Nobody wants to buy it, though, not after everything that happened. Within 2 months at Industrial Partners, I'd brought over all 12 suppliers I'd worked with at Hamilton. Real agreements this time, fair terms for everyone. Patricia was thrilled. This is exactly what we needed, she said. 6 months later, I was sitting at my new desk when Patricia walked over with her phone. You need to see this, she said, showing me an article. Hamilton Industrial Equipment sold in distress sale. The buyer was a large manufacturing conglomerate that specialized in mass production. Cheap materials, fast turnaround, nothing like what Hamilton used to make. The sale price barely covered their debts. I handed her phone back. It's in the past. That afternoon, I got a message from someone I hadn't heard from in months. Linda. Gerald, I know I don't have any right to ask you for anything, but I wanted to call and apologize for what I said at the retreat. It was cruel and unnecessary, and I've thought about it a lot since everything fell apart. She'd lost her job when the company was sold, had to move back in with her parents, was working retail now, trying to help pay bills. I didn't understand at the time what you actually did, she said when we talked. I thought you were just someone who handled paperwork. I didn't realize you were the person keeping everything running. We talked for 10 minutes. She sounded genuinely sorry. When we hung up, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness exactly, but something close to it. That evening, I told Dennis about the call. He was getting ready for his senior year, thinking about colleges. Are you glad you left? He asked. Best decision I ever made, I said. Sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. He nodded, understanding more than I'd given him credit for. A year later, Industrial Partners had grown by 40%. I was promoted to vice president. Dennis got accepted to 3 universities and chose the one that felt right to him. At his graduation, he introduced me to his friends as my dad, the guy who brought down a whole company just by walking away. I laughed, but he wasn't wrong. 6 months after that, Patricia made me a partner in the company. Actual ownership, not just a title. My name on the building. You've earned this, she said. You built something here that's going to last. Looking back now, I realize something important. Sometimes your greatest power is simply refusing to use it for people who don't deserve it. And sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do, it's what you stop doing. When you know your worth and finally demand that others recognize it too, that's when everything changes. True strength isn't about enduring disrespect. It's about having the courage to walk away when your value isn't acknowledged, knowing that those who truly need you will always find a way to follow.